Hi, guys. Welcome to the West Texas Bridal Podcast. I'm your host, Colby, and today I'm with Cassidy and Mandy.
Hello, I'm Mandy Popejoy. I have my Sweet Insanity. I am a cottage baker. I bake out of my home, but I've been doing this for a little over 20 years.
Awesome. And Cassidy?
I'm Cassidy with Cassidy's Cake Fork. I've been baking and decorating for about 13 years now. I'm a home baker, just as Mandy is.
Awesome. So what prompted you guys or got you guys into the wedding industry as far as baking?
Oh my gosh. Do you want to answer first?
Okay. So ever since I was a little kid, I wanted to decorate my own birthday cake. I thought it'd be super fun. Instead of ordering something or letting my parents do it, I asked if I could. And once I was able to operate an oven by myself and they trusted me, I was like, I want all these things to do it. Cake box.
Yes.
And they let me do it, and I was in love.
Awesome. And Mandy?
Mine's, well, I've always loved to cook and bake and do all the things, but when I had my daughter, I wanted to decorate her birthday cake. And so I took a little Wilton class at the junior college where we were living at the time, and just kind of fell in love with it, and it just evolved from there. So after her party, people were like, "Oh, can you do my kids' cakes?" And then before long, I was hooked.
Well, that's so much fun. I mean, I've seen both of you guys' work. I've seen your cakes. I've tasted your cakes. I've seen your work. I've tasted it. It's amazing.
Thanks.
I wanted to ask, what is the most fun wedding cake, groom's cake that you guys have done that you can think of?
You can go first this time.
Okay. Probably the one I did at Aberley Brooks. The bride was totally out of the box, and we did 2 large whiskey barrels, Jack Daniel's whiskey barrels for hers. And then the groom's cake, he wanted to be totally non-traditional. He loved Copenhagen, Coors Light, and the Texas flag. So we just kind of made it all together. So I did a Coors can, a Copenhagen can, and I did a marble on the bottom with the Texas flag. So
I
we
love
did
that.
that. It was fun.
How heavy or how tall because was it double barrel stacked on top of each other?
Yes.
I bet
It
that
was
was
probably
super heavy.
I want to say it was probably 26 to 28 inches tall, a little over 2 feet. And then, yes, it probably weighed close to 80, 90 pounds.
That is one heavy cake.
Yes. Well, when you add fondant and filling and all the things, it
Heavy.
gets very heavy, very fast.
And Cassidy?
So my most memorable groom's cake, I did it 2 years ago. So a baker here in Lubbock, she said, I have a vision. I want this crazy Macho Man cake as a groom's cake, but I'm going to be doing the wedding cake. Can you just do the groom's? And I was like, sure. What do you got? And she posted it and showed me, and it was a 3D body sculpt of Macho Man, the wrestler, that I didn't even know who that was at all. So I was like, okay. And so it was like a 10-inch round cake with his famous quote on it in yellow. And then it was literally his arms crossed up. And still, I'm like, I don't know how I did that. But it turned out awesome. And she came to my house and picked it up. And she cried. And I was like, that's one of the sweetest compliments ever if you cry because you love it so much.
Oh, yeah.
And she took it all the way to Dallas.
Oh my gosh.
And I was in panic the whole entire time. I was like, please, when you get there, let me know that it's alive.
Yes.
And it made it, and it was awesome.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Kudos to you, because sculpting is not
it
my
was hard.
thing.
I spent
Faces.
forever. Yeah.
I can do the wine bottles, barrels, things like that.
Faces are hard.
Faces.
I can't imagine.
I was lucky that he had sunglasses on, so I didn't have to worry about eyeballs because
eyes.
eyes are hard. So we just had like sunglasses. And I made a hat that was like a kid's toy hat and covered it in fondant. And
Love that.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
So you guys are talking about doing these big crazy cakes. So I kind of want to know like the prep work and the process. Like how many days does it take to prep a cake that size, or kind of when do you start prepping a wedding cake for a Saturday wedding?
for my sanity, I always start baking. It depends on how many cakes I have. If I only have one wedding, I will bake on Wednesdays and start prepping everything. But if there's anything else, like if they want lace, flowers, other things like that, those could be done, a couple of weeks ahead of time. But I do all my baking on Tuesdays or Wednesdays so that I can stack, crumb coat, and fill on Thursdays, and then have everything finished on Friday for the wedding on Saturday.
Yeah,
Awesome.
that's the same with me too. Usually bake Tuesday, Wednesday, and then Thursday, Friday, just spending time working on it.
That's a lot of prep.
It is, and people don't understand how much time it takes because cartoons and TV shows show you that putting it in an oven, taking it out, and it's done.
Yes.
But it takes us a really long time.
And the cake boss was famous for, I can whip this cake out in an hour. No.
Yeah, no.
No.
And see, and that prep is just for one cake, so I can't even imagine if you guys have 2 or 3 cakes that weekend.
Several
I
orders
bet
with a
that's-
wedding in
That's
one
a
week.
lot,
Yeah.
and each cake is different, so you've got to prep different things for different cakes as far as if they want
Yes.
fondant or frosting or floral or
Fillings
how does
and
how does that
Yes.
all work when you're trying to maneuver several cakes in one weekend?
I have a huge whiteboard in my
too.
pantry that I keep myself organized. I'm like, okay, on this day, this is what I have to
That's
do.
what I
On
have
this day
too.
is what I have to do. And then if they wanted fondant or they wanted flowers or anything like that, I make sure those are all ordered ahead of time. And I try to get them all colored ahead of time so that it matches everything, so that when I get to it, all I have to do is roll it out and put it on the cake. Otherwise, I could get behind schedule, and I'm too old to stay up late at night anymore.
and then it helps spacing it out every day.
Mm-hmm.
So that way you're not rushing yourself and having any room for panic. You have time to make adjustments if there's anything
Right.
to be done. Yeah.
Yes, because something can always go wrong.
Yes.
Plan for the worst, but hope for the best. I mean, I think
Yes.
that's kind of something in the wedding industry that we always, in the back of our mind, we're going to hope for the best, but always plan just in case anything happens, just to kind of make sure that we have some room to maneuver and
Yes.
do what we got to do to take care of business.
Most definitely.
I know we kind of talked about crazy wedding cakes, but is there any crazy requests that you guys have gotten as far as style? I think that your groom's cake that you just talked about, I think that is a super crazy request to do full sculpting.
Yes. As far as wedding cakes, a recent one I did, it was 3-tier squared, and she wanted Harry Potter on one side and Star Wars on the other, which I was super happy to do. 2 different colors. She wanted 2 different toppers, which I've never done before on a wedding cake. So everything was completely divided. And then for my idea for her design, I was in order to see both sides, we could get a spinning turntable.
I love that.
So that way it's spinning and everybody could see it. And why not? And they're like, yeah, we've got somebody that can make it. So that just made it all the more awesome.
That's awesome.
That's
I love
cool.
that you could see it from every angle. So
And that's always crazy too,
Yeah.
because there's usually a backside to every cake, because there's always something that goes wrong.
yeah.
So that makes it more nerve-wracking. I mean, you can, but yes, that's crazy.
What about yours?
Mine, I don't know, probably the Halloween cake that I had to do with the broken glass and the blood. It was a wedding cake,
Ooh.
which is great,
I saw that cake. It
but
looked-
Was it on
yeah,
Halloween?
it was
Close to it?
Yeah, 2 days before Halloween.
Nice.
so
The bride was like, please don't tell my mom, but this is what I want.
so
I
to
love
get
those.
the broken glass look, what did you do to get that look?
I made, you can buy, it's called isomalt, which is basically, it's like a dried sugar, but it's more stable. And then you cook it down until it's clear. And then I just poured it out on a silicone mat and then just broke it up so it looked like broken glass.
Fun.
And then you put it on the cake, and then you drizzle the red dye
Dye.
all over it to make it look bloody.
Awesome.
So I know that there's a lot of Mixed opinions when it comes to like fondant cakes versus ice cakes. What is y'all's take on doing fondant versus icing a cake?
I
Do you
think
have a preference? Do you
Oh, yeah.
prefer one over the other?
Buttercream, not a fondant person. I'll do fondant if I absolutely have to, depending on the time, but like wedding cakes, like no fondant. I don't like it.
I think that there's mixed opinions out there about it. I'm a fan of both because I think it depends on what you're looking for. But because I've been doing this so long, it's come full circle. So like we went from all buttercream and everything hand piped to the very sleek and modern. Everything had to be very clean and straight and very sharp. And so when you do that, I think that fondant is great if you know how to use it. Because a lot of people, they don't like fondant because most of the time when they've had fondant, it's like that thick and you can't taste the cake because it's disgusting. But technology's come a long ways, and then you can add flavorings and stuff to your fondant. So I like both, and it depends. And especially being out here in West Texas in the middle of the summer, fondant, I love that because I don't have to worry as much, especially if they want it to be outside, even though I always recommend that you keep it inside until like right before you cut it or whatever. But fondant is a lot more stable.
Okay, love that. I mean, I've done weddings where there's mixed emotions, but I think there's a stigma behind fondant that people don't like it because it doesn't taste good. But then people also like it because it's super pretty and you can do all the detailing. So I just didn't know if you guys preferred one over the other. So that's interesting. And I didn't think about, fondant lasting better in the heat versus icing.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Yes, most definitely. Because then I can put ganache underneath it, which is also more stable. And then, yes, you don't have to worry about your cake going.
Yes. So speaking of style between fondant and icing, jumping into different trends that you guys are seeing, is there something that's a little more popular now than is there something that brides are coming to you and asking for that you're seeing a lot of, whether it be color, style, floral? Are there different trends that you guys are seeing, or is it kind of just like all over the place? Because
I'm starting to get solid white with bows. That's actually a big trend going on right now. But I'm actually starting to see it here. So it's kind of a sign 'cause I love bows.
yes.
But some of them, like solid white with a solid bow, like a big statement piece, or solid white with black small bows around it. But bows are starting to come up right now for me.
Fun. I love the bows. I've seen weddings done where they do like bows on the candles and they do bows on the cake and bows on the chairs. I think that's such a fun design technique to use, and then also to incorporate that in a cake. So that's super fun. You'll have to show me something that you've done with the bow.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the bows are fun. I think it just kind of depends. Like I said, it's kind of come full circle. You went from your frosting cakes to your fondant, and then now it's more frosting. And I get a lot of people that request like naked cakes or semi-naked cakes.
I don't think those will ever go out of style.
I don't either, but they're not my favorite. I just, in my personal opinion, and I hope this doesn't offend people, but I just don't think that I just don't think they're as elegant as something that's completely covered. I mean, you can still make it very modern and sleek without showing the cake
Showing the
through.
cake, yeah.
Yeah.
So when it comes to like floral and stuff, and I want to touch on this for a second, because if you
Okay.
guys don't know, these flowers in this vase is all edible and you handmade them, right?
Yes.
So will you talk about that a little bit, and we can talk about real floral and how you guys go about that?
Sure. I learned most of my stuff a long time ago from a very, very dear friend of mine who is retired now. Her name was Earlene Moore, and she had Earlene's Cakes here in Lubbock for over 50 years. And she had a cake club that I attended, and she did sugar flowers and stuff for her brides, and her cakes were amazing. And so found out that when we moved to Lubbock, she literally lived down the road from me. So I spent a lot of time and she taught me most of the stuff that I know. I used to we were a part of an international cake club. And so we would get to we get to travel all over the place, take classes and do shows and things like that. So yeah, that's where I learned most of my stuff was from her. And so, yeah, I love it. It's called sugar paste. It's kind of like fondant, I guess you could say, but it has more elasticity, so you can roll the petals out super thin, and then it dries kind of like porcelain, so that if you wanted to pull the flowers off of your cake and save them, as long as you keep them out of direct sunlight and they don't ever get wet, they'll last forever.
Yeah, they're super beautiful. When you were coming in, I was like, oh my gosh, you brought fresh floral, like an arrangement. And then, when you brought them in and we started talking and you said that you had handmade them, I was like, that is so crazy because they look super real. And I bet that is so time consuming doing the color and airbrushing and rolling and having to put every petal on individually. I mean, that's just an art in itself. So
thank you.
I love that. Thanks for bringing that and sharing that with us.
Well, it's kind of a passion of mine, and so I love to do it, and I would love for more brides to want it.
Yeah.
I am not talented, but I want to get to that level. I like to buttercream pipe out flowers.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of my jam.
It's kind of good.
But if brides don't want buttercream ones, then I'll get the more realistic artificial ones, like from Hobby Lobby or a special online store. Or if they've got a florist, if they'd rather have more realistic flowers, I'm down for that too.
So when it comes to doing, like you said, talking about florist and getting into like the real fresh floral, how do you guys go about, do you guys provide that? Do you call a florist and say, hey, I'm doing the cake for this wedding. Can we get some extra floral so that floral matches what you're doing? How do you guys go about navigating getting that fresh floral so that everything is cohesive?
Usually that's something that the bride and I discuss, and then she relays that information to her florist about leaving extra flowers on the table. I don't mind the florist arranging the flowers the way she wants them. I just prefer putting them on the cake myself because I like to tape the ends of the stems so that they don't leak in the cake and make it taste bitter or anything like that. Yeah. It's just a personal preference of mine. Some people don't care, and that's okay, but I personally don't like it. So I like to wrap the ends just to make sure that there's a barrier between the cake and the flower.
Of course.
So.
Or I'd like to call the florist myself and say I need this amount so I can achieve her design that she wants.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I love that. So looking at the table, these wonderful ladies brought me some super good looking desserts, and on 2 of those platters are cake tasting. So I kind of want to talk about that and how you guys go about doing cake tasting when you guys are consulting with clients who are looking to do a cake with you guys.
I do cupcakes, like regular cupcake size. I have a whole list of all of my different flavors, but they only get to pick 6 to try. Some people have said, well, I'll pay extra and I can try more. That's fine. But I just do like cupcake sizes, and then I give them a sheet of paper that says like red sprinkles on this cupcake mean it's red velvet. I label them, and then also on that piece of paper they can make notes as we're going through it. That's how I do mine.
That's cute.
That's a good idea.
I love the cupcake idea.
Yeah. I have found that like during tastings and stuff, they don't tend to eat a ton of cake. And so I have mine, I will like spend a whole day and I'll cut them into slices and then I'll freeze them. And then when they get ready, I do like that so that I can cut them in half and they get a decent amount of cake, but not so much that they have, I just hate leftover cake.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I try to do it that way. And then I have a list of all the flavors and then we talk about it as they eat it. But I also know that people are super busy nowadays and they don't have time to sit down and do stuff. And so if you sit down with me, it usually doesn't cost anything. But if you take it, then it's $30. And then I have a whole box and I put 2 full slices of every flavor in the box. And I do my 5 to 6 most popular ones. And unless they have a special request, and then I can do that if I'm not super booked.
Awesome. Well, speaking of popular flavors, is there flavors out there that you guys are seeing more of? Is there something that you offer that when people try it, they're just like, oh my gosh, this is our wedding cake flavor?
White chocolate raspberry always gets picked to try. Lemon blueberry,
That sounds good.
usually marbles, kind of surprisingly. When it's a fall wedding, they always pick pumpkin,
Pumpkin.
Yeah. which I love that because I always make extra for myself to eat.
Pumpkin cake is super good. So
Pumpkin is very good. I don't know. I would say I have a snickerdoodle cake that everybody seems to really enjoy, and then my lemon and raspberry. So they can do lemon raspberry, lemon blueberry, but the lemon and raspberry seems to be pretty popular. And then if they want to go traditional, usually the almond, I have an almond sour cream with the strawberry filling that they really like.
Yeah.
So
interesting. I love that. And kind of just looking at the different spread, I know some brides, want the traditional cake. I know some brides could care less about having a wedding cake because they themselves don't like cake. So do you guys offer different desserts or like cupcakes and stuff if they don't want to do a traditional wedding cake because that's just not their vibe for their wedding?
Yeah, plenty of times couples say I'm not a cake person, which is fine. I've done a cheesecake for the couple to cut into, and then I made a dessert bar for everybody to eat off of. Or I had a couple, their favorite thing was butter cake, which I'd never heard of until then, but I was like, I'll give it a shot.
Yeah.
So I made butter cake and brownies. I did mini cupcakes as a request for the mother-in-law. But yeah, it was just treats, which I'm fine with that too. Doesn't have to be cake.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I see a lot of people are moving more towards like a dessert spread where there's a little bit of something for everybody and not just cake.
Not just cake.
But I also, on my cakes, if it's more than one tier, they can have a flavor for each tier if they want, or they can have it all the same flavor. It makes no difference to me. But like she said, and they don't always have to do cake. I did, the bride wanted a traditional cake and we did 3 different flavors on hers, but the groom wanted brownies and chocolate chip cookies with pecans in them. So that's what he did for his groom's cake.
I love chocolate chip cookies, so I will have to say that if I ever got married, because I particularly am not a cake person, I'm more of like a cheesecake. That's my jam right there, but the weight of my heart is chocolate chip cookies.
Like a stack of them?
Yes. So if I ever got married, like I'm like, we can do a cake, for the people that want it, but I want this whole like table with like chocolate chip cookies and
There you
cheesecake
go.
bites and because that's more of my vibe. I've never been a cake person, which is crazy because I feel like I'm at least taking a bite of the cake every event that, we're doing. And I bet you guys are eating cake every weekend. So what is you guys' favorite flavor of cake? Do you guys
Like I said, pumpkin.
pumpkin?
Actually, right now, okay, so I'm weird. If it is fresh out of the oven and still piping hot, my chocolate chip cake is my absolute favorite. No frosting, just that. But if I'm gonna have to like wait till it's cooled off and have the filling and everything, the lemon and raspberry is my favorite.
Yeah, lemon
That sounds
too.
good.
All
Yeah.
the cake scraps,
Yes.
especially the lemon.
Yeah.
But I'm doing a wedding this weekend. Speaking of, because they're not traditional, we're doing just a single tier for them to cut for pictures. And then we're doing cupcakes, macarons, brownies, and churros for the groom
Yum.
That's fun. I love
with
that.
dipping sauces. Yes.
I know this is kind of a weird question, but sometimes, you just don't think about it because, the wedding cake and you're just kind of like moving on. Do you guys also offer like cake stands that you will provide for your cake, or do you outsource that, or do you tell the bride and groom that they need to bring that? How do you guys go about doing cake stands for cakes?
I offer both, and
Okay.
it depends on which venue I'm working with, because I know like Everly Brooks usually has their own that they like to use. The Willows will sometimes have their own, But if the bride specifically asks, I don't have a ton, but I do have some that they can choose from. I try to have at least 2 or 3, like gold, silver, and white, so that they can, if they want to elevate their cake, they can.
Awesome.
So
I've got some stands too that I let people rent from me. White, gold ones, cupcake stand too. Or I'll say like your venue will have some stands. Like Twin Lakes, they've got a lot of stands. If they don't, or if you don't like the ones that I have or they don't match, then, Hobby Lobby, tons of other places in town have plenty of stands.
Yeah, absolutely.
I just tell them which ones to get and what not to get because it makes a big difference. Because some cannot hold the big cakes that we make.
Talk about the difference between doing a cake stand like that versus doing the metal round ones.
Yeah, that's a pedestal stand that's a pretty thick, good one. But like the skinny pedestals that are like plastic or that thin metal,
yes,
awful, big fat, no.
Yes, speaking of which, my husband delivered one to the McAllister house, and they brought out one. It was like this tall. The base was this big around, and the bottom tier of my cake was 14 inches, and it weighed like 75 to 100 pounds. And my husband was like, no.
Yeah, we'll try to do with what they're saying, but if I feel uncomfortable immediately, I'll take it off and sorry, it doesn't work.
Absolutely.
Because that's the last thing I want is for them to have paid the money for their cake and then it fall off the cake stand and be ruined because of the wrong kind of cake stand.
That cake is more important than that stand.
Yes. Exactly. I wanted to talk a little bit about this cake. If you guys didn't know, this is a dummy cake. And so I wanted to see if brides are also doing like dummy cakes and ordering sheet cakes, or if they're doing a cake for show and then a dessert bar. Have you guys kind of seen different things as far as doing dummy cakes for weddings?
I think about once or twice a year I'll get a dummy cake for a wedding and then sheet cakes in the back.
Okay, fun.
But it's not super often.
It's not super often. And I mean, I always try to encourage the bride to, at least if they don't want a huge cake, to do something small, because I mean, you're still going to have to pay for all the decorations on the cake, and so you might as well be able to eat it. That's how I feel about it. But if they wanted to do a smaller cake and supplement with sheet cakes, I'm totally for that too. So it just depends on the bride. I don't get that very often. Most of the time they will either do something smaller or have a dessert bar, so they don't have to have a lot of cake.
I love that.
Yeah.
I know with like sheet cakes and rectangle cakes, that's a little bit easier to cut, right? So I know there's some back and forth with how to cut a round cake. I know when I have to cut a cake, I get a plate and I kind of slice it down and then slice that cake.
There you go.
So
That's
is that how you?
That's how I do
Is that how you cut a round
Yes.
cake?
Yes.
Because some people are like, no, like you have to cut it like this, and then I feel like that makes a
There's
huge
multiple
mess.
ways.
So what is the go-to way and the easiest way for brides out there who are having to get someone to cut their cake, or people that are watching? What's the easiest way to cut a round cake?
Honestly, if it was up to me, I would take the cake to the back and disassemble it, because I feel like it's easier to start with the bottom tier because you don't want to be taking home the whole bottom tier. And so, but I would cut it just like you said. I would go in, make a straight line, cut it, and if it's 4 or 5 layers thick, then I would cut that in half. And you make sure you have plenty of servings for everybody, because you don't want a piece of cake this long on your plate. So, you can cut it to where it's usually 1.5 inches by 1.5 inches. I try to make my cake servings pretty generous to make sure there's not, because I know a lot of people use, like, there's guides out there, the Wilton guide. They say that it's like a 1 inch by 1 inch slice. Nobody's going to measure it.
Yeah.
So I would rather overshoot than undershoot.
For sure.
I just tell everybody to go look on YouTube. There are plenty of videos of different ways to cut it. Watch them before the wedding so that we are not so intimidated when actually the time comes.
Yeah.
Fun. Yeah, I've kind of seen different, and anytime I'm at a wedding, I kind of watch whoever's cutting the cake, how they cut the cake, because I I mean, cutting a circle cake is a round cake is, there's different ways, and I like to see how they're cutting it, and if they're struggling, if they're not, and if they are, jump up and go help them, because
Yes.
it's hard. It's hard to cut a 3-tier cake, especially when you're trying to work your way from the top and go down.
Yes.
And then you have to like take out all the dowel rods and take out all the
And then you've
all
got
the
people
things.
waiting, like, come on,
I know.
I'm ready.
Yes.
Yes.
Well, that's super exciting. I mean, that looks amazing. Really and truly, like, you can't even tell that it's a demi cake. It's so beautiful.
That's the point.
Yeah.
So-
Well, styrofoam on the inside, but all of the outside, it's fondant with my decorations. It's called crinoline lace. It's a whole technique thing.
It's very
I love
delicate.
to play and learn new things all the time. I don't think you can ever know everything, and I'm constantly learning stuff all the time. And so, yeah, when I see something that I like, that's what I like to play. So I can do it for myself.
Yeah, I saw the cake that you did that had the acrylic tiers in between. That was super fun. So how did that kind of come about? Was that to give the cake a different look? Was that to make the cake taller without having so much cake?
Both, actually, because I think that it just makes the cake look more elegant and sleek, because it gives it that grand aspect of things. But then it also, if you don't want extra servings, then it also helps keep the servings down but still give the look that you want.
Awesome.
For sure.
What is the tallest cake that you've done to date?
It was 6 tiers, and it was for a quinceañera.
Fun. What kind of design did you do for that cake?
It was like a fairy tale, like fairy woodland theme. The bottom was to look like a tree trunk, and then it was ivory tiers, and I did like a leaf stencil on a few of them. One tier was just solid flowers, and then more like ivory tiers, and then flowers to circle wrap the entire thing twice.
Wow.
Yeah.
How long did that take for prep and
A long time. The design overall,
Yes.
super simple, but it's really like tedious. Yeah, it's
Yes.
simple, but it's a lot of steps to like 6 tiers to do different sizes, and it takes different time. All the different batches of buttercream you have to make.
All the colors.
Yeah, all the colors and textures, and then
did you hand pipe all those flowers on there?
thank God. The mother bought all of the artificial flowers, so when I got there, well, the one that had solid flowers, I already had that done. So the ones that had to wrap around it, I did it there. I had to stack the entire cake, all of it there, and then do the flowers. So I was there for like 2 hours just doing it, because
You
it.
stack the cake there.
Well, I had like, I think 3 tiers already
Oh,
put
okay.
together, but then to do like the others, the table itself that it was on was so tall, I had to get a step stool and stand and put my knees on the table, which freaked me out. I'm a short person, I don't like heights. And then to do that, and then I am like trembling, trying to put all the flowers on top and the topper, and praying the entire time. The whole thing just doesn't
Yeah.
go crazy.
Mm-hmm.
It was stressful, but it was
It's-
super beautiful, and I
bet.
loved it.
I bet.
And I bet that's fun, getting to just have that creative freedom, so to speak, to kind of do different things with different tiers and kind of play around with themes and colors and all of that. I bet you guys really enjoy kind of getting to have that freedom of,
Yes.
a client coming and saying, this is what I want, this is kind of what I'm going for, I'm going to leave it in your hands, and just having that freedom to run with it.
It's a blessing and a curse, because I feel like sometimes, because I'm super weird about making sure everybody's happy,
Yeah.
and I'm like, my style may not be your style, but it does make me feel good when they're like, we love everything you do, just do it. So I'm just like, okay, well, don't say I didn't warn you.
It's like a really big compliment when they just send you a bunch of pictures and ideas, mesh it all together, just do something.
Yes.
And it's like, I get to play and I get to have fun and like come up with something. But then again, it's like, did I do it right? Are they going to like the way that I did it? Yeah, I took all their ideas, but they're walking into a surprise.
Mm-hmm.
I know you guys have been in the industry for several years. What is your favorite cake and the cake that whenever you think about it, it brings it to you? Is there a favorite cake that, whether it be wedding, quinceañera, is there a cake that was just, I know you guys are taking cakes every weekend, some multiple weekends, but is there a cake that just has always stuck out to you as far as design, color, style?
That's hard.
That is very hard.
I don't know.
Yes, and not so much because of the style, but just because of the couple. So I had to deliver a wedding, and I believe that I think it was in Brownfield. But the couple was so sweet, and I did a 3-tier wedding cake for them, and they wanted to be able to save all the flowers, so I did a huge spray, and they gave me creative freedom so I could do whatever I wanted to. And then the only thing that they requested was her husband or husband to be was a OU fan, so he wanted the OU logo on the back of the cake.
Fun.
So, but yes, they, as soon as I brought it in, it's like she said, it's the best feeling in the world when they're like blown away by something that you did. It makes it all worth it, everything that you did. And and everybody, like, I couldn't even sit it on the table because they were all like all around it. You did that? You made those flowers? And so yes. And then the bride comes out and she starts crying and gives you a big old hug. And then you're like, yes, that's why I do what I do.
Exactly. I was going to say, I bet everybody, I think everybody in the wedding industry can say, like, that reaction from the bride and the groom and the family, just, it makes it all worth it. The blood, the sweat, the tears, the late nights, all of that is just, it makes it worth what we do.
Absolutely.
Yeah, their reactions are like always stuck in my head.
Yes.
Whether it's like weddings and like the mother will hug me because she loved it so much. Or if it's like kids' birthday cakes and they send me like a picture of their like reaction.
I love that.
Those are my favorite.
Yes, for sure.
But like one favorite cake, I really don't know.
I know it's hard. I bet it's super hard because you guys have done hundreds of cakes.
Yeah.
And
I always say that, but like every time I do something, I think you can't really have like a favorite, but what I love more is more of the creative freedom. I would much more a bride bring me 3 or 4 pictures and say, this is the style that I'm going for, than to just bring me a cake off of Pinterest and say, this is what I want. Because you can always copy somebody's work, but where's the fun in that? Is that your personality, or is that just a cake that you thought was pretty? Let's add some stuff to it and make it just
more
unique to you.
Yeah.
Yes, for sure.
And I think that's also super fun because, I mean, being in the wedding industry, every wedding is different because every couple has their own style, colors that they like, things that are in. And so I think that also makes it fun because trends come and go, but no cake is going to be the same.
Right.
Because everybody is different and everybody likes different things. So I bet that's super fun because I bet one day it's a wedding cake, the next day it's a quinceañera cake, a baby, you just kind of juggle all the different things. So I bet that is super fun getting to not only design wedding cakes, but also do cakes for other occasions.
Yes, for sure.
I also have to ask about the trend because I do know there's some mixed emotion and controversy about saving the top tier for like the anniversary cake. I've had, there's some brides that are like, absolutely, we have to save the top tier. It has to go home with us. We have to eat it on our first anniversary. And then there's some brides that are like, So what is y'all's take on that?
What do you do, or what do you tell them?
I let the bride decide because in the end, it's her cake and it's what she wants to do. Again, like I said, I've been doing this a long time. I learned lots of little things. You can save the top tier and you can make it taste really good. But there's some steps if you're willing to do it to make it taste really good when you get it out of the freezer. That's awesome. But at the same time, with it being 2024, a lot of brides don't want to save the top tier. They would rather just either you can always just get a honeymoon cake or, order another one for your anniversary so that it's nice and fresh. But mine, I would say maybe about 20% of my brides still like to save the top tier, but most of them, they're like, no, we just want to eat it all. So I'm good with that too.
Yeah, I think that's a good percentage about how mine is. I even had a couple, when she ordered the cake and the groom's cake, she was like, I want to go ahead and order a separate cake of the top tier, just make it look like the other one.
That's a good idea.
Already wrap it up for me, and I'll go stick it in the freezer like right now. So she already had that taken care of when I was like,
I love that. I've never thought about ordering a separate
that's the first
top
one
tier.
I've ever had anybody
That's
do that.
interesting. And I want to
That
go
is
back to
cool.
you because you
Okay.
said there's different steps that you have to do to like take the cake out from the freezer. I
Yes.
just assumed you just take it out from the freezer and like let it thaw out and eat it. So can you kind of walk through the steps of defrosting a wedding cake a year later?
Yes. Well, to preserve it properly, and we have tested it and it does work, you want to make sure your cake is chilled, and then you wrap it in saran wrap, wrap it in tin foil, wrap it in saran wrap again, and then you want to put it in an airtight container, and then you can freeze it. And then the night before your anniversary, you want to set it out. Do not unwrap it. Do not do anything to it. Just set it on the counter, let it completely defrost, and then the next morning you can take the stuff off of it. And it's
I'm like, that's like Christmas morning. All that
Yeah.
wrapping and you just kind of go through all the layers to get to the cake. I love that.
yes, it can be interesting.
I didn't
And
know
if
that there
it's
was-
buttercream, you might want to put it back in the fridge and chill it for like 30 minutes to firm up the frosting so that it doesn't get peeled off when you take the saran wrap off. But yeah,
Well, I'm glad that we kind of touched on that because me personally, I just thought you take it out of the freezer and then you just like open it all up and let it kind of thaw out and then you eat it. So that's interesting that there's steps that you have to take to preserve it, to keep its freshness and all of that because, cakes do dry out. So I didn't know that there was steps that you can take to preserve that. So that's interesting.
Yeah, you have to tell them if you don't do it right, it's not going to turn out right.
and it won't taste good because it can get, and a cake in the freezer for a year can get freezer burnt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there any way to prevent freezer burn or is it just kind of like...
Just wrapping it as best as you can.
The steps that I said, and if you can, if you have like if you could get like the square, the tall Tupperware containers now that seal completely, that makes a huge difference because it kind of keeps the outside from all of the smells and different things from your freezer from getting in. So yeah.
That's fun. I didn't know that. Is there any kind of trends that you, looking back on all the years that you've done, that has been your favorite trend to do on a wedding cake? I know you kind of said bows is in for you, but is there a trend as far as like old school piping? I know that's kind of coming back.
Yeah, that's big right
That's
now.
super fun. The metallic cakes, I've seen that. Is there a trend that is fun and that you enjoy doing?
I do like the old school piping. I think
I
it's
love that.
fun. There's there's whole lots of different techniques when it comes to old school piping, but I think that's really cool. And I do like fondant because it gives you like a clean canvas to work on, so the sky's the limit when it comes to with whatever you want. So yeah, you can do lace, you can do over piping, you can do all kinds of things. But yeah, I don't know. I think it really just depends on the bride and their vibe. Kind of lean towards, because I know a lot of people are like, oh, we don't know what we're doing. Well, that's what my job is to help you. And I want to create something for you that you're going to love and that you're going to look back and say, yes, that was awesome.
Cassidy?
Yeah, like when kind of bouncing off previously, when people send you photos, this is what they're looking for. I'm like, yeah, but do you love that?
Yeah.
Because I kind of feel like they aren't sure. Can I send you other ideas? I'm like, okay. And they usually end up going with something else.
And I think being a bride in general is overwhelming because I know when you get on Pinterest and you start looking, you kind of go down that Pinterest rabbit hole and then you see all these different things and it's hard to kind of narrow down. So I think that that's fun for you guys, looking at things that brides are bringing you as far as inspo photos and kind of tweaking that a little bit so that it fits what they're going for. Um, and just making sure that not only does it fit what they're going for, but it fits the theme, decor, it all is cohesive. And I think that's also hard. You guys have that experience, so it's easy for you to kind of talk to a bride and kind of, say, I love that photo, I love this photo, let's take it and compile it, but let's also do this, and this to just to
Right.
give you what you're looking for. Because as a bride, I mean, I know it's overwhelming getting on Pinterest and you look up, a wedding cake in the style or the vibe that you're going for, and it's just it floods. And so just trying to narrow that down is hard. And how do you guys go about, when they bring you all these different photos and all these different styles to narrowing down what their wedding cake is actually going to look like?
I make sketches. I'll do about 3 of them, different. Each of them are completely different. And at the end, if they like this part of sketch number 1 and this part of sketch number 2, then we'll combine that even. Like I will do whatever it takes so you love the final product. So you're not settling. We're literally here to help.
Right. And it's not my wedding, it's yours.
Yes.
So I want to do whatever I can to make you happy. So, because that's my job.
Awesome. I love that. I love that you do sketches. And do you kind of, when you do sketches, do you do it like in the colors that they're looking for?
I tried to. I've got a bucket full of like matte pencils and crayons that I use, which those don't come in every single bridal color.
Yes.
But
just to kind of help with that visual, I love that
I'm a super visual person,
Same, yes.
so like I need to see it too, and I want them to see it, so that way I want them to kind of expect what they're going to be seeing on their day.
Right. I'm kind of the same way. I do have some software so that I can kind of put it together. I'm still learning, so it's a little rough, but I'm working on it so that they have a better idea of what their cake will look like whenever I bring it to them. So. Yeah.
And I love that you guys offer that and do that for your clients, because I know, like, being in the wedding industry and doing it for so long, you kind of get it in here what it's going to look like, and you can like speak it out loud and you see it in your head, but for the client to kind of try to visualize that in their head, I bet that's a little hard. And I don't want to say intimidating, but also kind of, nerve-wracking, because they're trying to envision this cake with floral here and floral there, and this tier has, this design, and this top tier has a different design. So you guys actually bringing the cake to life before it's actually delivered. I love that you guys do that, because I think that helps brides visualize and just to get more comfortable with what they're picking. And if they like a style and then you show them and they don't like it, then you can always change it and get it to where they want it to be. So I love that.
And always try to offer like 3 price points too, because I know some brides are on a budget and some aren't. So you want to make sure that you can offer them something that they are willing to pay for as well.
Yes. Kind of talking about budget, just because you kind of touched on that. How do you guys go about working with every budget? Because every budget is different for cake, and every budget is different for, just weddings in general. So how do you go about helping a bride and making sure that you're fitting within that budget?
Well, communication, I think, is the best key right there. I always try to be upfront with my brides about what the base cost is going to be. And then, if that works for them, then we discuss other things. And some, I'm not for everybody, and that's okay. But a lot of mine is based off my experience, and how long I've been doing this, and what I can offer. So, yeah.
And then asking them their budget, if they have one, like one of the first questions before we talk about design, colors, anything. Because I don't want to overstep and do something crazy. And then they tell me, and it's like, well, then you can't have any of this that I just talked about.
Right.
But I've had brides turn away because my price was too much for them. It's the way it is. But I still need to know if you got a budget, so that way if we're even compatible in the first place.
Right.
And I think that also helps just to kind of initially like shuffle in what you can do with what, you know.
Right. And there's every kind of bride for everything. And if they, especially if they come in and are like, we just want a cake to eat. Well, I can automatically tell you that that's probably not going to be, we're not going to be compatible, because I want your cake to be an experience. And I want to be able to have all of the things for everything, and not, and so usually when a bride says that, and they don't care really what it looks like or anything like that, then I usually politely decline, or, it's not going to fit in my schedule or whatever the case may be. And it's not anything against the bride or anything like that, but they would probably do better going to United or somewhere like that to get their cake if they're just wanting something to serve at the deal, because they have tons of people that do all that stuff all the time. I'm one person, and so everything counts from start to finish. And so I want to make sure that what I'm doing, I also get paid for as well.
Yeah, each cake order comes with its own memory too. Flipping back through past designs and photos, you remember the story of each one, how each conversation went. So kind of want them to be more good ones than not so great.
Yeah.
People that don't like meh.
Yeah.
Like, well, I'm obsessed with cake, so kind of want y'all to like it too.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's important. And I love that you said that you want your cake to be an experience from the inside to the outside. Because like you said, there are people that just want the cake just because they think they need a wedding cake.
Right.
And there are brides out there who, every detail on that cake is important to them.
Yes.
So I love that you guys are willing to work with that. That's a lot of fun.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Well, guys, thank you for watching the West Texas Bridal Podcast. It was so much fun getting to talk with Cassidy and Mandy about all things wedding cakes. I'm your host, Colby, and
I'm Mandy with My Sweet Insanity. And yeah, I bake out of my home. Like I said, I've been doing it for over 20 years now. So,
And I'm Cassidy with Cassidy's Cake Fork, and I will be your cake lady forever.
love that. We will see you guys on the next episode.
Oh,
I mean, I've been looking at these cakes and they look amazing, and I've tried your stuff, so I mean,
yeah,
I'm super
excited about it too.
Okay, so what is the first one?
When I do my tastings, they get this, and so I let them sit down and then I start. So the first one is my almond sour cream with the strawberry.
Don't eat it until she gives you permission.
Oh, I didn't know there was permission. But
dig in, dude.
I gotta make sure that I get the cake and the frosting in the middle.
Yeah.
I've had couples that will like try to rush through it, and I'm like, well, I want to talk about each flavor, and then they'll like start eating it all, and they'll go out of order because I have it all organized. It drives me insane.
I always put it on the plate the same way so I don't forget what flavor.
That was really good. I love the filling in that was really good.
Thank you. Then strawberry with cream cheese.
Oh my gosh, I love a good cream cheese filling. That is probably one of my favorite fillings.
It has a splash of like orange in it to bring out the cream cheese flavoring, to give it that citrusy flavor.
That cream cheese is really good.
Then you've got lemon with raspberry.
Oh my gosh, you were talking about this, and I was like, that probably sounds super, super good.
Yeah, I went a little heavy on the coloring, but yes, it is raspberry filling.
Anything fruit, my favorite.
Guys, that's really good. Let me just say.
Thank you. Okay, the next one is creamsicle, or you can say orange it's got a cranberry filling though, and that one's good for summer and fall because of the cranberries.
I want to try this too.
And that's my Swiss buttercream.
Her buttercream, smooth. That is really good. I mean, I've tried some buttercreams that's really thick, and that was just really like.
Or it's like
good.
grainy,
yeah,
and you can feel all the sugar.
You can feel all the sugar in there because it's not mixed right.
Okay, and then this is my chocolate chip, Death by Chocolate, whatever you want to call it, with chocolate.
I'm a sucker for chocolate.
Yeah. We're all staring at you.
Well, this is like a tasting, so I'm like, I'm gonna watch you eat.
See, this is why I do what I do.
I think I just found my wedding cake flavor. Like, that has legit chocolate chips in it.
Yes,
That's like,
yes.
And then you can put, like, ask for chocolate chip cookies, like, crushed up as, like, a layer inside.
that was. Wait,
That'd be so
can
good,
we
too.
pause? Because I need another bite of this.
Yeah. You
This
go
is like
take all
goodness
the
right
time
here.
you need. Mm-hmm.
I really, when I think about my own wedding, because I'm not a cake person, I'm like, just do a dummy cake and move on. But I'm like,
I always try
I
to
think
change
that-
people's minds when they say, "Oh, I don't like cake." I'm like, "Well, you have to at least try it." Like make
Don't
my kids.
hurt my feelings right away.
Yeah, try it before you. Don't knock it till you try it.
and me, I'm like, I could, I don't care if people don't like chocolate. This is going to be my cake. It's going to be, I want large and in charge. So all 7 tiers is going to be this chocolate cake because this is good. This is.
That's the biggest cake I've ever done. 7 tiers. I had to get, like she was talking about, I had to get on the table with a ladder.
Yep.
Because it
How was
wouldn't
that
fit in my car
experience?
because I had to put the top 2 tiers on when I got there. That
How
is
was
the
that?
worst.
I
It's
bet
the
that's
most
nerve-wracking.
Oh my God. Yes.
It is.
It is. It's
You
awful.
can't stand on every single table that they have, but you
Yes.
try.
So when you do taller cakes like that, do you always like bring step ladders and bring things to kind of prep yourself just in case you show up to the venue and they don't have that?
Yes, and then I have told them that I will not use their table.
I
That
was
they
gonna
have
say-
to bring me a different table.
I was gonna say, have you
Yes.
ever had to deny the table that it's going on because it's
Yes.
unsteady?
Yes. Well, I've had people, they put like whiskey barrels on either end and then they have like just a piece of
That makes me nervous.
sheet plywood and they want to put the cake in the middle and it's like 5 feet between the two.
Absolutely not.
No.
Yeah, I think that would make me a little nervous just because it bows in the middle and you just never know. So that's interesting. I'm glad you
And
brought
then
that
you
up.
add
So I was
a
gonna
90-pound, 100-pound cake. Yeah, no.
then try again.
Yes.
So what do they say when you say I can't use this?
They're like, oh, and then I have them come over here and I'm like, grab a hold of this side, and then you tell me that it's okay. And they're like, oh.
And
Yeah.
that's interesting. 'Cause
And then they'll change it.
I don't think that I realized that depending on how heavy the cake is, you should probably have something super sturdy that's going under. So
Yeah. I've like pulled tablecloths up and be like, no, that ain't gonna work.
have you done the same? Have you run into stuff like that?
I had I did a baby shower and they wanted everything on those pedestals, like the single pedestals. And it was like a 3-tier cake and I stuck it on one of them and I saw the whole cake starting to sink down and I was like, what's happening? So I immediately picked it up and moved it and it was not like sturdy at all. And I pushed down on it and it kept going. And then I pushed until it stopped. And then I was like, cake back on. It's okay.
All is
And then
good.
I'd never dealt with those pillar things anymore. And they had like these mesh covers over it to make them look pretty. But I was just like, I don't know what's happening underneath. But it freaked me out.
Yeah.
You're
No.
working.
Then the last flavor is Italian cream with the butter pecan filling, and it has coconut and pecans in it. So just so you know.
That is really good too.
Thank you.
All of this is good. My favorite is the chocolate.
So good you can't talk.
I know. I'm like, keep on staring at this because I'm like, I want all of this right now.
Well, eat the whole thing.
But I also want to try these.
Yeah,
So
okay.
Can
Tell
we
me
talk
what's
a
that.
little bit about?
These are macarons,
Okay.
and the first one is strawberry, and it's got strawberry buttercream. The second one is lemon, and it has lemon curd.
Yeah, strawberry tastes like strawberry ice cream.
That is really good. And I know there's a difference in between, and I want you guys to explain because I found from y'all
I think I know what you're going to
difference
say.
She's more of a stickler than I am.
the difference between a macaron and a macaroon.
Yes.
Can you kind of talk about that?
Go ahead.
A macaron, these, sandwich.
Okay.
Macaroon are those shredded coconut cookies that are sometimes like rolled in chocolate.
Yeah, they're usually a little pointy. That's more of like a shortbread type.
Yeah, those are
marshmallowy
good
type
too.
thing. They
But
are.
people usually don't even know what those are and that there's another name for them. I don't know why somebody came up with those names and put them so close together for two separate types of cookies. But people get the name wrong all the time, and I'm like, no, let me correct
Well,
you.
see, and I didn't know there was a difference because I called this a macaroon until we started talking, and you said, no, that's a macaron. So now I feel like I'm the macaron police because I'm like,
And you
no,
can
there's a
correct other
difference.
people.
And then when you kind of explained the difference, and when we had left that conversation, I kind of looked up the difference because I was like, and then there really is a difference between a macaroon and a macaron.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
that was super interesting. You learn new things every day. And what is this flavor?
That is lavender blueberry.
Okay.
And you may have to get a bigger bite to get the blueberries. Nope, you're good.
That was really good.
And I make my own lavender syrup with my own lavender that I grow in my backyard.
Oh my goodness.
Okay.
Extra.
I see you. She said it's all homemade.
Yeah.
Well, that is really, really good.
All right, now you're going to try one of mine.
Yes. I want to try one of yours too.
So, I played around in my kitchen this morning.
Thank you.
These are mimosa cupcakes. So, it's a champagne cake with an orange buttercream.
This is a first for me because I've never had a champagne cake.
First for me this morning, but I was like, I really want to try it.
Pink champagne was pretty popular there for a long time. I did quite a few of those. But yeah. I'm sorry, I just really like oranges. So
Me
I'm
too.
gonna do that first.
Yeah.
Okay. Cheers.
Cheers.
And I'm going to start eating it.
That is really good. The frosting.
Real orange
is
and real
like,
champagne.
You can taste the orange in there. Like did you put zest in there?
Yeah, and juice from the whole orange, nothing else.
You can like that is like eating a whole orange, but like in frosting.
I
Like,
don't like to use extracts. I want like the real thing.
No, that is really good. Brides, y'all are out there. This is really good. And then chocolate cake. That's also really good. So, just pointing that out there. But this frosting is like to die for. It's like eating like a real cutie orange.
Okay. So I can make it a little